Good afternoon, everyone. I wanted to come on board today. Today is June 19th, 2026. It is a federal holiday, and I was debating whether or not to um, submit anything to the algorithm officially from Text Movement Media's perspective. Um, I want to um, be very careful because it is 1 month away from the 3-year anniversary of my mother's passing. And, you know, things like things like birthdays and holidays and, so on and so forth. It's not something that I place on too high of a pedestal. Um, if we can't honor people at the most internal level, at the core of who they are, if we can't um, have that kind of spiritual intimacy with people, any celebration of a day or a historical figure or a community's contributions, it becomes more of an insult than a uh, honoring celebration. I think that we are in a prison of envy, and we are constantly abused by people that want to divide and conquer because of manufactured envy. And when I think about my experience, my journey through time and space, understanding my own body, understanding the principles of movement, understanding to a partial degree how nature operates, and taking some of those parallels into my relationships with people, I align with congruence above all things. I believe the Bible says God is not the author of confusion. But it seems today all we see around us is confusion. And whenever I've had the most peace, I'm around the people that cause the least confusion. And whenever I have the least peace, it's because I'm listening to voices that are placed into my life conveniently as billboards, specifically to poke at one pillar or another of truth. When you operate in only one small community, those pillars are very clear and visible. But when you travel in different um, communities to learn and grow, each community has its own pillars because of their experience through history and their unique environment. We are not entitled to anybody else's history. We are not entitled to reaping the rewards of anyone else's sacrifice. When God had the Israelites in the wilderness, He instructed them to plant their crops 100% of the way. But the outermost 10% of the crops were not meant to be harvested and sold by the Israelites. They were meant to be left alone for the foreigner. I don't need 100% of my life to be in my bank account. What I want Texas Movement Media and various other things to represent is the 10% that I'd like to leave for other people's edification and benefit. The crops that God has allowed me to plant because of my genetic history, I recognize their uniqueness in value. And it's very clear, based on the nature and duration and intensity of my opposition, that those who seek to divide us also recognize the value of my unique planting. And people with a small village mindset either choose not to see the value of those mutually beneficial crops, or they have been so beaten down by their own frustrations that they don't think anyone else deserves a harvest but them. These are the kinds of seeds that lead to slavery, that lead to the rape and pillage of generations of people. When I stand before my Creator on Judgment Day, I do not want to be found guilty of that kind of theft. The burden of leadership, from my young perspective, is choosing who to harm in the safest way. Many times that means allowing harm to come to myself before it comes to other people. But that sword is two-edged, and this is where my community needs to be careful. Self-sacrifice and self-immolation and deprecation can also become an idol. It gives you a false sense of righteousness because you're feeling that you're courageously doing something that no one else has done before or very few people are willing to do. And that creates pride. It's an impotent hubris. You are just as much of a creation, uniquely fashioned like a snowflake or a fingerprint, as anyone else on this earth. And if you're destroying it just to avoid a confrontation, even a confrontation of your own demons or your own fear, you will have to be accountable for that as well. When the master comes and finds a buried talent, he will ask why you didn't even collect interest on that talent. Gold earns no interest buried in the ground. A.W. Tozer is now in the next life. And just like Fox News asks, the Lord will ask him, what about Chicago? Jesus was crucified on the cross naked, but in all our pictures, he is a Caucasian, cleverly clothed. The angels of light are all around us. When nature operates optimally, there is harmony. Some of us know the value of frequency. There's a lot of jokes to be made about rigid dancing or losses in translation of colloquialisms. Peace comes from a resonance of spirit, not a resonance of intellect. "10% is for the foreigner. You may be foreign because you don't have the benefit of a two-parent household, the benefit of the melanin that allows you to move through the world as easy as someone else, the eye color or hair texture, the access to startup business capital, the freedom from uh, Judas-like figures in your corporate or personal life, the unwillingness of romantic partners that give you their best. Whatever my outer 10% can provide for you, this is my message offering it to you. I have tried to minimize what I ask for in return, and there are those in my life that see that attribute as a weakness, and they've spent my entire life exploiting that characteristic. While that saddens me and frustrates me very much, part of the 10% I want to give you is as much of a template as possible to extract maximum value out of that pain. Remember, the devil both comes as an angel of light and seeks to steal, kill, and destroy. Don't use angels of light as your white Jesus loincloth. Eventually, we will all be exposed in full. And that was a lesson I learned from Black Twitter. Despite the creation and manipulation of a thing by a corrupted source, wheat and tares, truth can emerge from a flawed source. So even if we find out everything was a fabrication, our deepest spiritual insight remains a truth that we can rely on. There's not much more to say. From an American perspective, I've given quite a bit, but I know it certainly is possible for things to get worse. So I'm going to pause here for now. But I urge you to keep the main thing, and take serious things seriously. And if people want to dilute it with lies and fabrications, trust your deepest instincts when it comes to confrontation and when it comes to escalation. And no matter how complicated the journey becomes, trust that even when tares are sown, the wheat will eventually be separated. Goodbye.